Welcome to episode number 25 of the Better with Brock podcast. And I am here with the legend, Radford, who is a client of mine, one of the busiest men that I know. And we've been working together for over 64 weeks now. Well, that's on the record. I guess it's been slightly longer with some holidays thrown in there to see some volcanoes and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But give us a little bit of an intro of, I don't want this to be a podcast of, this is what happened when I worked with Brock, because that can be quite stale. Although I would love to touch on, your progress, because it's amazing what you've achieved at 62 years old. But a bit of intro of, maybe what you do, where you're from, where you've been. I know you've spent time in Australia, and just a bit of that.
Okay. So, born in rural Mississippi, actually in a college town. My father was an instructor. Little toot for him. He was he went to Texas A&M. He went to Mississippi State, got a business degree, but his goal and what he was working on was actually, he founded the farm-raised catfish business in the United States. And so we moved to the middle of nowhere to form the largest catfish farm in the world. And I grew up there, finished all that, ended up going back to school to the same place. Lots of stories there that I won't go into because I could probably be arrested for that. But got a degree in computer science and a degree in business, and started a almost 20-year career, part of which led me to Australia. Lived in Australia before you were born, 1987 to 89, and had a blast, still connected, going back in April of 2023, and spend a couple of weeks visiting with friends, maybe, and hopefully meet up with you as well.
Of course, we'll have to get a workout in and get some good Australian coffee.
In other words, I'm going to be sore, so there we go. Okay, I got it. Moved to Atlanta when I got tired of the IT business, because I wanted to be in an airport where I could fly anywhere in the world without any issues. So did that. My gym was being evicted. It was very poorly run, and the minority business partner said, could we buy him out and you be my majority partner now? And well, after 6 months of trying to make that happen, because there was a lot of issues with the majority owner, most of them drug related. So it was a problem. And we did it. And 4 months later, an LA Fitness opened up, which we knew was going to happen, but we didn't realize it was going to have a big impact. It opened up like 9 blocks away. And all of a sudden, 50% of our membership disappeared.
Wow.
And so we started over, rebranded it as a neighborhood gym. It had been a predominantly gay gym.
And what's the name of the gym, if you want to name it?
Well, we renamed it from PE Midtown, which I really liked. That was a good name for a gym, but we called it Urban Body Fitness. So, and June of this year, 2022, we celebrated 20 years.
Amazing.
And a big move. We had to move. Our parking lot was a sublet from the railroad company, and the city bought it and turned it into a running path around the city. And so we lost 100 of our parking spaces.
So
So we moved.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So where are you now?
That was 11 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. So through all this kind of, that's a huge journey. I guess, I did want to touch on running a gym and what that's like. But I do have a question before that. In terms of, I don't know too much about catfish, but what are catfish farmed for?
We literally raise catfish from egg to cutting them, filleting them, and selling them in the stores. Here in the U.S., catfish, especially pond-raised catfish, it's a very light, fluffy tilapia. I think y'all have tilapia down in Australia, and it's very much like tilapia.
Okay, so it's so you eat it. Yeah, I was wondering, because I've just seen videos online where people kind of stuck their hand in the mud and catch a catfish, and I was like, okay. Is it just for sport? Is it just for fun?
No. This was food service. Actually, a very big company called ConAgra, which y'all have ConAgra products through all the different brands, bought the company. Actually, that's how it ended up, going out of our hands and being run by another company.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's been business through your family, through your blood since you were young.
Yep.
Growing up.
Oh, I've remodeled houses and done all sorts of things here, there, and yon. And
Yeah.
as you know, I've also got my fingers in the non-growing side of cannabis. So marijuana side.
Yeah. So what do you do in that area? Like, I know you're always going to conferences, and I haven't really asked you. Obviously, we work mainly on coaching and trying to, obviously we talk about other things and what goes on.
Healthy
with
things.
Life.
Yeah.
Like, how's your training? How's your nutrition? How's your steps? How's your sleep? But yeah, explain more about, I guess, what you're doing in the cannabis space.
Two different things, mainly money side. I'm an investor and a partner in a cannabis testing lab in Maine, and we're about to start our fundraising for Arizona. And every state has, in the US right now, because of the laws we have, every state is separate. And then I'm also partners in a software company that does seed to sale tracking. So in the US, no matter where you are, from the day a company gets a seed to grow a marijuana plant till the time that product goes to the customer and is in their hand, you have to track that. Everything, the plant, the dirt, everything has to be tracked.
Really?
So that's what that software does.
Okay. So is that done through photo, video, writing down records? Is it, it's probably much more advanced.
This is all written record. This is all written record. Each state varies on what kind of video records, but normally I only have to keep about 6 months. So we don't do any of that. There are other companies, some really good ones. At one point I was thinking about doing a growing license here in Georgia, and I investigated it, and which is how I actually found all these companies. Because we don't have a testing lab, but one. We have one now here in Georgia. But the market is, because of all the lawsuits, it still hasn't actually started until actually 3 weeks ago. They finally issued 2 of those 6 licenses.
Okay. So I've like, obviously I don't know too much about it. I haven't experienced any myself. I've been around it, I guess, growing up.
Yeah.
But from the conferences you've been going to, I know they may be related to more sales or marketing or software and stuff like that, but
actually medical.
Medical.
Mine's all medical side.
Okay, so where would you, or could you give us maybe anywhere between maybe 2 to 4 like positive ways to incorporate it in people's lives, if that would be the case, or from a medical perspective? Because I've heard things, and most people have probably heard things like, it's this and it's that, but I'd love to hear it from you since you're so deep into it.
I can give you one personal and one from all the conferences I've been to.
Sure.
I have, and this goes back into training. I've had 2 meniscus repairs on one knee and one on the other, and I've got 2 discs that have ruptured in my lower back, because you and I have worked around some of that training. Well, it doesn't mean they don't hurt. They do, and frequently, sometimes badly. So we use a balm, spelled BALM, not BOMB. Got to be careful what you say in the airport.
Yeah, that's right. Balm.
Yeah. So, but with certain, brands of types of it, and it matters what the base is, and then you put THC in it, and it's a painkiller, and it's a fantastic painkiller. So that helps when my back goes into spasm. The other big medical use is like cancer patients. I mean, say you have throat cancer. Well, you can't swallow anything. So you don't smoke anything, obviously. So you're not smoking your medicine. That's what they call it on the medical side. You put it in a lozenge, and you suck on it and let the syrupy sugar and THC go down your throat, and it acts as a fantastic painkiller while you're going through chemo treatment on throat cancer. So that's just some examples. You can smoke it for anxiety and things like that. Some people it works really, really, really well, and some people it just makes your anxiety worse. So everybody's different.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that as well. Like, so when you were saying that, my ears pricked up because I was like, well, some people, you know, that do drugs, you know, recreationally say that, oh, when I took marijuana, it just made me, you know, tired or more anxious. And they were kind of like, not
Paranoid.
negative. Yeah, paranoid. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So amongst these uses, are there any side effects to
that's a long list. It can be most
like,
of them
sorry to jump in. I guess I'm just trying to paint a picture of pros and cons, you know, as opposed to like everyone just go and get it. Just, you know.
Oh no. And everybody's going to react differently. As you will hear later on, I'm big into genetics, whether it's hereditary side or how medicines work or don't for you. COVID being one of those more recent ones. There's two types of, generically speaking. You've got hybrids, of course, but you've got indica, which tends to make you more sedative. So that's the ones that makes you the couch potato and give you the munchies. And then you got sativa, which is the more energetic version. Yes, it has a calming effect, but it tends not to make you the couch potato. Obviously, any of it in large quantity is going to make you a couch potato. I mean, that's really what it's going to do. But sativa in the proper dosing really makes a difference that way. Now that's adult use or medical. I mean, in either case. And some people react to indica style differently than sativa style. I've used indica gummies as a replacement for melatonin to help me sleep. So, and again, dosing makes a difference.
Have you found it to be effective?
Oh yeah, I'm out, and it's almost like being drunk. If you got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I'm like holding on to the wall because I feel very drunk, but it's a super sound sleep. The effects wear off really quickly. And that's why they use it oils in particular with kids with seizures. It is amazing with people with epilepsy and types of seizures like that. It is amazing.
To take just before they sleep or on a regular, like in the morning?
Depends. It depends.
Okay,
it depends on how sometimes they get it 3 times a day at every meal and dropped into their food. And the food helps act as a transport. That's a whole nother story. And that gets into science and it's boring. So I won't go into that, but but the oils really work. I've got actually an acquaintance. She works at the bank, and her son was taking prescription stuff and then tried the THC version. And she said he's like a real kid again. You know, it's like all the side effects of the man-made stuff really was having a negative impact. When he went with just a THC oil, he was up and perky, and he still had a 90% reduction in his seizures.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, well, that's originally where the keto diet was introduced. It was for epilepsy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. It was actually originated for children with epilepsy. So I always think, and I know that, you know, nutrition is medicine, but, you know, obviously sometimes medicine can be more effective, but that is why I think personally people can't really sustain it for fat loss, because it's very challenging, but also I always think, well, it wasn't made for fat loss. It was made to help people with epilepsy. Like, if you have to do it, you have to do it. So you're going to do it. You know, when you're in that place, it's going to be more sustainable because you're quite desperate in that time to get better. But anyway, I digress. I do have a question though, because a company sent me some CBD gummies.
Yep.
Right. And
I'm an investor in a CBD company.
Okay. I can't remember what it's called. It's actually over there. I could go get it, but it's I took it and I slept like a rock. Right. But I always wonder, because I sleep like a rock anyway. I'm like I felt like it was a deeper sleep, but I thought, is it just placebo? Is it just, you know, I'm extra tired that day?
Probably real.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I haven't tried it because I don't want to develop a reliance to it, or, you know, being not addicted to it, but like, okay, I'm going to take it because I need a good sleep, because I would rather try and do it, you know, through, well, that's just like having control of my sleep. Like, I would rather just sleep well without anything, just as a general rule, you know, only supplement when you need to. But are there studies on, or any kind of note on placebo versus CBD or anything like that, or that you're aware of?
Okay, so now we have to branch into the science.
Yeah, just a little bit, and then we'll move on and talk about the gym.
Cannabis is hemp and marijuana, but hemp has below 0.03% THC in it, but it has the CBD and all the CB, H, and N. It can have all these other CB molecules in it, where THC is a molecule with one more branch off of it, and blah, blah, blah. There's some chemical stuff that goes on there. So they're slightly different, and their effects are slightly different. CBD can help with anxiety as well. Works in some people, doesn't work in others. But generally speaking, 25 to 50 milligrams of a CBD product will help you sleep. It helps you relax. Sometimes it helps shut your brain down a little bit so that your gerbils, as I call them, aren't keeping you awake all night long while you're thinking about stuff and you just can't shut down. It just varies a lot, but it's a really interesting product. I have them here. I use them for the main thing it does is it reduces inflammation. Where THC is a painkiller, a true painkiller, CBD is a good inflammation reducer. And people go, oh yeah, I took CBD and my pain went away, and said, well, that's because your pain was inflammation and it was causing pressing on the nerves or whatever. And so, yeah, that makes perfectly good sense to me. It's hard to, until you have a conversation with people, sometimes they don't realize that the pain can be more than one thing. You stick a needle in your hand, that's pain. Okay, if your thumb is swelling because it's got arthritis in it, it may help reduce that inflammation and reduce your pain. And topical works okay for some people. The mix and how it's made, it needs to be a pepperminty or a menthol or something like that, because both THC balms and a CBD balm need to have a transport. The molecule is ginormous. And so it needs something to open the pores in your skin. So what does menthol and all these other little products, they open the pores and allows it to transport better.
Got it. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the science. That was your science lesson. There you go.
Yeah, cool. No. I got sent a balm as well, and I don't need it. But I do know someone or a couple of people that I think could potentially benefit from it. So I'm just genuinely interested in, okay, is this actually something that can help? Because there's a lot of people that say things, and it's nice to hear someone that's actually been to the conferences and done the study. So, well, and
to add to that, I also lectured to the American Bar Association, which is our barrister organization. I think that's the right word for you, lawyers. Yep. I lectured with them on COVID and on cannabis. So we've done 2 lecture groups already. So I sit on a panel that does that.
Yeah. So we're getting it straight from the source.
Not that good.
Close to the source.
Close
to the source. So coming back to running your gym.
Yeah.
As someone that is frequently in gyms and seen many gyms, lived in gyms pretty much from being a personal trainer, 6 a.m. till 9 p.m., what would you say are the 3 most frustrating challenges that you have to deal with running a gym? Because as we talked about just before we came online, I ran the numbers once with a client, and we were potentially thinking of running a gym, and we ran the numbers and we were like, it's a lot of money up front, depending on how you organize it. But generally speaking, it's quite a lot of money up front, and you're not going to see a return for I said 2 to 5 years. And you said that's relatively accurate. And that's kind of what we saw when we put the numbers through. It kind of depends on members and depends on the way that what sort of gym you want to run. But generally speaking, you have to have quite a lot of cash and be quite patient and willing to see the investment, run for a little while. So in saying that, what would you say are the 3 most frustrating challenges of running a gym? Because I saw a few just when we put the numbers in without even stepping into it and saying, okay, I'm going to take the lease on.
It is a lot of money. You've got to have good financial backing. I recommend when you, because I do consulting a little bit on the side for people that are thinking about it. And my first answer is, you're going to have all your money to get started, and 6 months of money consuming you make $0 from the day you open the door. Now, I'm assuming your landlord is not going to ask for, you're going to get 3, 4, 6 months of free rent so you can finish out the space and get the equipment in and get it all set up, and then your rent starts. You have to assume 6 months. Nobody walks in that door and pays you a nickel because you got to advertise, you got all this other stuff, and it's going to eat up all that free cash right there. Employees, you're going to work your butt off because you're the face. I mean, you've got to go do, that's when I first took this over, I had that minority business partner. He was the face guy and he wanted to be the face guy. And I'm like, good, I'll make everything else happen. And after about 5 or 6 years, I bought him out. And he actually is a trainer at the gym for maybe another 6 months. He's also become a commercial realtor, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so money, the biggest member challenge I have ever had, and there is no way to lick it. I've not come up with one. Put your equipment back up and unrack your weights. Oh my God, I'm constantly going around picking stuff up and putting it back on the rack, taking stuff off the machines. That's the members otherwise are great. And my members are higher end. I'm one of the more expensive gyms.
And how much does your gym cost? Out of curiosity.
Well, I'm going to tell you the January, because we're doing our first price increase in 6 years. We're doing in January. So it's $61.99 a month. Cancel anytime. It's monthly. So that's a $2 increase, by the way. We're $59.99 currently for a regular membership. But there's an LA Fitness, which if you're in the US, that's one of the big box gyms. It is literally 3 blocks from me, and I have 1,300 members. And that's a good number for a 14,000 square foot, which is, what was that, 1,400 square meters gym, give or take? Somewhere in that neighborhood, 13, 14, something like that. So it's fairly good size, but it's a neighborhood gym, but we're a big neighborhood gym. We're not to use a brand, a workout anytime or fitness anytime gym. We're double or triple, maybe even quadruple that size. They tend to be really small gyms. We have multiple of everything, squat racks and all this other stuff. We have multiple of them. So that we'll have up to this week, as a matter of fact, 60 people in the gym at one time.
Okay. Is that still restricted? Is there still guidelines?
We haven't been restricted. We weren't restricted 6 weeks after COVID. We were one of the first states to open back up in the US. So we were allowed to open 6 weeks after the shutdown. So we waited 7 weeks and we started with 35 at any one time, counting staff, counting me, and then we slowly relaxed that out. So now it's 60 members at any one time, generally speaking, during our rush time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, which is a lot.
Yeah. So one challenge that I kind of picked up on there was the people putting their weights back. And that's just frustrating from like me being in the gym.
Yeah.
Sometimes in my rest periods, I'll put my timer on my Fitbit here. I'll put it on, 1 minute 30, whatever it is. And I'll just put weights away in my rest period. Sometimes I just do it. I'm just like, I'm so frustrated because I'm not going to clean the whole gym, but at least in my area, I'm going to put all the 5s on one. I'm going to put all the 20s down the bottom. I'm going to put the 10s, there and the 2.5s just to kind of like, I think it says a lot about the person, but that's a conversation for another day. But I think it's kind of like the same as if you don't make your bed, messy
now
bed,
you're talking to
life.
me.
Like messy bed.
Well,
messy
I don't
life.
have a messy life, but I don't make my bed.
But I think in some cases, and I'm saying in most cases, probably not in yours, because I know you're a very organized kind of, have a lot of things going on person, but I think it says a lot about the person and it frustrates me. And sometimes I wonder, how do you, like, what does your car look like? Like, what does the rest of your life look like? If you can't even, like, say you're doing dumbbells and you just leave it on the floor, like, like, I don't know, you're a corner cutter or you're something, because I feel like these little things. So I love this quote, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's why I put my weights away, because I try and hold myself to a better standard. And I think people should do that. Anyway, 2 more challenges that you can kind of just rattle off, and they can be member focused. They can be just running the gym, focus? Like, I don't know. Like, but so number one, keeping tidy and making sure the gym culture is in check, putting their weights back.
Well, and we're noted for being the cleanest gym in the world. I mean,
That,
we really work on it. That's
but
a big deal.
it makes
Not
a
just
big
organized,
difference. It makes a
but
big
I'm talking
difference.
about like mopped floors and all this other. So my biggest challenge, because I just fired a cleaning company just a couple of months ago and started with a new one because they just weren't getting it clean. And my new crew is doing a really good job. So getting a good cleaning crew. So I don't want to have to be the one mopping a 14,000 square foot facility. That's huge.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. So, and cleaning toilets and all this, I have done it. Don't get me wrong. When we first took over, we mopped every night. The closing crew was the cleaning crew.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of work. It was an hour and a half and you were a sweaty mess when you were done because you were trying to get that shit done and get out the door.
Yeah.
And I've done it before. So that getting a true cleaning company that actually got it and would be consistent. You know, I've had this crew 4 weeks. So at 8 to 12 weeks, I'll know whether they're really consistent, but they seem
that's
to
when the
actually
work
be
ethic
ramping.
really shows.
Well, they seem to be ramping up, not ramping down, which is great because they're still finding stuff to do. Staff is the other one. Oh my God. We're not open 24 hours a day. So we're your typical early morning 5:30 and open till about 9 at night. And weekends are shorter hours. But finding good staff, I've got amazing staff right now. They're not perfect, don't get me wrong, but they're there on time or early. They do their jobs. When I ask them to clean up something they might not have quite right, or I need to add something to their task list, it's never a complaint. This has been the best crew I've had in a lot of years. So and consistent, as is a team.
So let's talk trainers.
Okay.
As a personal trainer myself, being in a gym, I think I was one of the low maintenance personal trainers. I didn't really want much to do with the gym, to be honest. I just wanted to do my thing. So we talked about the different models. So for the gym that I was working at, and most gyms that I was working at, they have two different models. And there's a employee model where you do classes, you have gym floor hours where you walk around and help people or clean the treadmills, rearrange the weights, do what people should be doing, like all that kind of stuff. So there's that employee model, and you might get somewhere between, I don't know, $20 to $30 an hour, something like that, maybe. And then there's the subcontractor model where you pay a rent, weekly, monthly, fortnightly, whatever it is. And you just take home all the money that you make from your clients. So you have a fixed amount coming out. And when I first started personal training in 2015 in a gym called City Fitness in Queen Street, Auckland, New Zealand, I went straight into the subcontractor model, and I had a choice, but I went straight into it because I wanted to put myself up against the wall, and I wanted to create a hard position because I was at the time broke. But I had belief in myself, and I thought that, if I really work hard, if I stay there from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. and walk the floor and take every lead and show them a good session, that I would get busy. And I did. I became the busiest trainer quite quickly, and I loved it. After that time, I went to another gym, and they actually didn't have the subcontractor model. They only had the employee model. And my drive hit the floor. I wasn't motivated. I didn't really enjoy the personal training sessions because I think there was no, if I work harder, I'm going to help more people or I'm going to make more money. Like all I did was just the same amount of hours. I did the sessions, but like there was no real incentive for me. So I actually asked sometimes if I could just work reception instead of being a personal trainer, because I was like, at least I get to talk to people. It's more fun. There's people around me. I get to meet people, but walking around the gym floor as a personal trainer, cleaning and just kind of talking to the same people that went at the same time, I found myself really low in motivation. So I'm really pro the subcontractor model. And I think it kind of lights a fire up your ass and makes you get going. And I think that's what makes a great trainer, because you have to really push yourself. You have to ask people if they want help. You have to get told no. In Sydney, when I first started at Fitness First, I got told no so many times. it didn't help that I was 22 years old and the people that I was talking to were 40, 50, 60, and they were like, what does this young guy know? But yeah, the employer model and the subcontractor model. So what model do you use and what has your experience been with personal trainers?
Well, we do a variation off the independent contractor. In the US, the rules are different. The tax rules are different. We have employee, we have independent contractor. I even go a step further because our tax service called the Internet IRS. So they're trying to get rid of that independent contractor role altogether. So what we have is tenants. They literally have a lease and they pay rent. And it's worked wonderfully. It's during COVID, we did it as a variable based on how many people we were training because, you know, so many people lost clients.
Yeah.
We're now swapping back into the fixed amount. So they pay me a fixed amount every month and they can train as many people as they want.
Yeah, actually, that's very nice of you because I know in COVID that, so I still have a lot of trainer friends, but one of the trainer friends, the gym was still taking the same amount of money and the gym was empty. Like there was, because COVID hit, the pandemic, everyone was scared and going to a gym, rubbing shoulders with everyone, sweating everywhere. No one was going into the gym and it was in the CBD. That's where I used to work, like right in Market Street. If you know the CBD yeah, Market Street. I was there. So I left before COVID and I went online, but I had a trainer friend there and he, like everyone was emailing the gym, and I'm not going to say them because I don't want to get sued or thrown under the bus or whatever, but they were still charging $400 a week for an empty gym, just hoping that, you know, that the personal trainers wouldn't ask, or they were just so money hungry or desperate because their members were down to make revenue somehow, but it was so unfair. So to hear that you made a, you know, meet in the middle or compromise situation with your trainers is amazing to hear because I didn't respect the gym anyway because they treated me like crap, to be honest, and they just wanted my rent. I could definitely feel that. But yeah, it was just terrible morals as a business to stand by. So to hear that is super positive.
I know you're going to ask me some questions later in the end, but one of those things is treat people the way you want to be treated. And if you treat people well, it will come back to you. We terminated memberships in people that didn't come back after about 6 or 8 months, even though they hadn't canceled. And I got notes saying, you didn't bill me this month. I said, well, you haven't been in. He said, well, I want to make sure you're there when this is all over. And I'm going, we'll be fine. It's okay. And that was members.
Also, people just wanted to make sure you were still afloat and that you.
That's correct.
That's nice.
That's correct.
Well, that's when you know
I'm a neighborhood gym
as well.
My member, and I'm really big. It's like, I don't have a paycheck if I don't have members, even though I'm the boss. And I pay everybody else first. So all of my staff gets paid first and I get the leftovers. And I tell my members, I said, listen, you give me money. I provide you with good service, good product, whatever, all that stuff. I pay my staff. And if there's any money left over at the end of the month, then that's what I get. If we got to buy a new piece of equipment, or in our case, an $18,000 air conditioner, okay, I didn't get a paycheck that month, you know, whatever. So that's the way I run the business. And it has made me, I get a nice paycheck.
Yeah, but I also think that's why you've lasted 20 years. Not many gyms do that. So many turnover, especially through the pandemic. There was lease signs everywhere. Everywhere.
Yep. We had several. We had one down the street that was in between me and the LA Fitness that's 3 blocks away. Across the street from them, somebody decided to open a gym up. Before COVID, he was doomed to fail. He didn't know what he was doing, but that's okay. That's a whole different story. And he used to be a trainer at my gym too. And he failed miserably starting about day one. And it was just awful. It was sad to watch the deterioration over 3 years. It took 3 years before he finally got evicted out of the space.
Yeah, it was such a pivotal transitional time for all businesses, but especially for gyms that rely on people being together in the same room. Yeah, walking in the door. It was very challenging. You know, I was fortunate. It was as if someone whispered in my ear, you know, maybe call him God, and he said, come on, man, you should get out. So 2019, 24th of December, I hung up the boots face-to-face training.
Oh, wow.
Not knowing that 3 months later in March, we were going to hit lockdown. And I was already 3 months into online training. And that gave me the experience to actually run an online business, because even though I loved face-to-face training, it's amazing. It's like my baby, you know, it's where you start. It's where you can tangibly help people, and you can teach people technique face-to-face, give them feedback right there. You can help them say whatever they want to say. You know, they want to get whatever off their chest about their children, about their husband, about their wife, you know, whatever. And you have this kind of
a little bit of counselor.
Yeah, that's right. Unqualified counsel work throughout the session, but I loved it. And I actually struggled. I wanted to be an online trainer probably about a year before I actually did it, because I didn't want to break up with my clients. It was very hard, because you develop this relationship. I would see them more than I see my friends. You know, I would have some clients that would see me 5 times a week for an hour. That's 5 hours a week. How often do you spend 5 hours a week with someone that isn't your husband, your wife, you know, your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your best friend, or, you know, your family that you live with? Like, I would develop these relationships. I would know more about them than anyone would know about them. Like, they tell you everything. You like, they're so vulnerable. They're sweaty. They're feeling crap. They're feeling great. You get to see all their personalities. And I really struggled with that, but I had to go, because I knew that I didn't just want to help 50 people in a gym. I wanted to help 50,000 all around the world. Yeah. And unfortunately, that meant breaking up with them, inviting them to come online, which most of them declined, because they love who you are, not really, you know, what you do. Well, yeah. It's both, but they really love seeing you. And that's why they show up. And I think face-to-face clients are different to online clients. Face-to-face clients love seeing you. They love being shouted at, or they love being encouraged, and, you know, touching their shoulders to put them this way and that way when they're doing exercises. And online people, I think, just require different things. So I found that very hard.
It's that accountability thing.
Yeah.
When you're the in-person trainer, you are the accountability. When you go online, like for me, it's like, I'm going to get it done. And as you know, I may be a half a week behind into the next week, actually trying to finish up the previous week's workout, but I'm going to get it done, damn it.
Yeah, but some people don't have that level of commitment in online. Yeah. They're just like, oh, it's just an email. It's just a Zoom call. It's just a whatever, you know, it's just a tick in the box. It's all right. I'll just miss it. But you obviously hold yourself to a higher standard. But I did want to ask, you know, about the online and, you know, going online business. Like, what was some of the, I guess, the most challenging things when the pandemic hit, because it was so unknown and we all had to transition. So you talked about your trainers and how you made a compromise there, but what else did you have to scramble and figure out when lockdown hit?
Well, at the end of 2020 also happened to be a break point in my lease. And we were 3 days from announcing we were closing, because my landlord had not, at that point, negotiated with me to have a new lease that was reduced for COVID. And some circumstances, that guy that the gym failed on, there were some shenanigans going on with him. And I reached out to my landlord, and I know them, and they're an amazing landlord. He has 38 shopping centers. I mean, it's not small. So I reached out to the manager that I work with and said, listen, let me give you a little warning about him, because I heard he's trying to lease my space when I go, because I'd already told him I was going to go. I just hadn't told the membership yet. And 2 days later, he goes, we've cut him loose. Let's talk about giving you a COVID lease. And they did me a 2-year COVID lease, which ends on Monday. Wow. So October 31st, 2022 is the last day of my COVID lease, and my real lease kicks in on November 1st, and it's a $6,000 a month jump.
Okay. Well, hopefully,
and
fingers crossed,
we're ready.
That $2 increase will help you out.
The $2 actually is going to be about $3,000 a month. So it's not going to make that up, but we recovered back up to where we were before, about 8 months ago. And so we've been really flush. I was able to pay in cash for that $18,000 air conditioner because it failed this year.
Man, not many gyms can do that. I'll tell you what, I was at a gym that I will keep not saying their name. like, mate, I was there for probably 3 years and I didn't see anything change. Like, we had a platform where they would do powerlifting and drop the weights. Screws were coming out of it. Like on the floor, I would find screws. And I'm like, if someone's doing walking lunges, or even just someone with a, I don't know, a weak ankle and just stepped on the screw. And I was like, this is crazy. And we were just begging for something simple, like a platform that doesn't throw screws all over the floor. And like benches that don't break. Like I would watch people do an incline dumbbell chest press, holding their dumbbells. And as they were pressing up, it would click down one.
Yeah.
Like while they had 30, 40 kgs on top of their head, pretty much, the bench would just click all the way down to flat sometimes. And I was like, and I would see it. And I literally had to, as a personal trainer, this was not my job. So I was a subcontractor. It's not my job to fix the gym. Okay. But I was like, stuff this. I literally pulled the bench from the gym floor downstairs, and there was no like ramp or anything. So every time I was going downstairs, I was like, ka-kung, ka-kung, ka-kung. and I put it in the gym manager's office and I said, this is broken. Like, this has been broken for 3 months and you haven't fixed it. It was just crazy. Like, they would risk that stuff.
In the last 8 months, we've replaced all three of we had 2 incline benches, the exact ones you're talking about, kind of, and they've just become unstable. And so at $1,000, I ordered 3 of them, each $1,000 each. And we ordered 3 of those. And again, we've worked if my members don't stay coming in the door, I don't get a paycheck. Yeah. So I make the customers happy. They get an email twice a year. What toy do you want? That's what we call gym equipment. We call them toys. What toy do you want? And they get a new toy. So they got a third power rack. They wanted a Rogue power rack. Just recently, somebody goes, we really need a new platform, heavily gnarled bar. So I got them a new Ohio black, so we can identify it as being the new bar. It's easier to pick it out. It doesn't look like all the others. And that was $300-400. Yeah, we're buying stuff for the members all the time.
Seriously. So I was in one of the biggest gyms in Australia and they couldn't even give us new barbells. It was just horrendous. I would have much preferred to be a trainer at your gym than the gym that I was at.
Most of my trainers do. I've got 3 trainers that make more than $100,000 a year. Now they work fair number of hours, but they're charging $80-85 an hour. And they pay me a flat fee. And my goal is to hit right around that 15% number for a fully loaded train. Because I'm furnishing all the equipment, everything. They don't furnish anything but brain power.
So what do you do to look after your trainers? Because I know what it's like not to be looked after. And I thought it was simple, the things that I was asking for. And I wasn't asking for a lot. Like, I didn't even ask for new toys, even though we had benches breaking. And, you know, I was just literally asking for broken benches to be fixed, steps with the thing peeling off, you know, like just to be put down, or, you know, just like basic things. So what do you do to look after a trainer? I think I just find this interesting because after being a trainer everywhere, I've experienced great service, terrible service. And as a gym owner, I think it's cool to hear it straight from you.
I don't take care of the trainers. I take care of the members.
Okay.
Everything I do is aimed at the member. If the member's happy, guess what? They're happy with their trainer as long as their trainer is doing his job. And I can't make him do his job better or worse or anything else. I make sure they have the toys they need to do whatever kind of exercise they want to do. Like we're pulling out a seated plate-loaded hammer strength shrug machine because the members don't use it very much, very, very little. And we're going to put in a plate-loaded hip thrust machine.
Oh, that will get much more.
The members want one.
Of course. Everyone wants a good set of glutes.
We're using a Smith machine now, and or just a bar and on a bench, and it's a pain in the ass, literally, to try to set it up and get under it and get it.
It's so frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you keep giving me that damn exercise, and I'm like, oh my God, not this one again. So we got to come up with a better answer. And somebody goes, oh yeah, there's a machine, and finding it. And again, it's a $1,500, $2,000 to get commercial grade machine.
That's so
So
awesome to
that's
hear,
going to
man.
get ordered. Yeah. So
That's so good.
I don't have to do stuff specific. I do take them to dinner at a Brazilian steakhouse once a
Oh, they're
year.
the
And
best. Unlimited meat.
loads of protein, loads of
Yeah.
protein.
Keep the light green and just keep that meat coming. I
You
love
got
that.
it. That's exactly it.
I love it.
So but that's really, they don't have a lot of requests
Yeah.
because I'm already on it. The members have already asked me. I'm already working on it.
Well, you know what? A quiet trainer is a happy trainer, because the only trainers that open their mouth in the PT room where we would eat lunch and cram into and all that kind of stuff were the frustrated ones. But me and, my friend who were easier, the kind of busiest trainers, like we were happy as Larry, because we just made do with, with what we had, the equipment we had. I was fortunate enough to, when I first started, I got a lot of leads. So what they would do is like nourish the new trainers with leads. So people would go to our gym and say, I want a trainer. And then you'd get, I don't know, a free session or 2 or 3 or different packages.
Sure.
And we would service them, the early trainers. And I held those clients until the end for like 3 years. I held them because I looked after them. And I didn't make excuses, but I found that a lot of PTs, their inadequacies were projected into things around the gym, like, oh, this needs to change, that needs to change. And I was like, no, you just need to be a better trainer and at least have a client follow a program. The amount of trainers that gave their clients programs was under 5 in a group of trainers that were about over 30. We had about 35 trainers and only about 5 of them had iPads with programs in them for each client. The rest of them would just look around and go, what do you feel like doing today? Oh, let's do bench press because it's free. So we'll do bench press. And then, oh, how's that feel? Oh, it feels good. Oh, how's your lats feeling? Oh, yeah, they feel good. All right, let's do some pull-ups. They were just freestyling it. And I was like, that's why you're unhappy.
It's not a program.
Yeah. And that's why your clients are like circulating. But, like me and my friend who were the busiest trainers, we were just getting in there. And it's easy. Open up the iPad. Oh, this is what we're doing today because you've planned it out. Like it's not that hard. But we were happy.
All of my trainers have a program, and as you know, because you're doing online training, you don't have a choice, and you got to know how to program, and you got to have a plan for this week and this week and this week and this week, and that's really important.
So important. Yeah, it's just like anything in life. If you have a plan, it's much easier to succeed, as long as the plan is right, of course. But, that's why I'm doing a program design course. As soon as it finishes, I'm signing up for another one. I just finished one last week. And at the moment, I'm reading research reviews as opposed to studying. Like this morning, I was reading the correlation between eggs and cardiovascular disease, and different papers on that and all this kind of stuff, and ultimately the conclusion was eggs don't cause cardiovascular disease. But there's so many things that people say about eggs, which is wrong, around cholesterol and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, so I'm reading that at the moment. But I have a golden rule, and I've said this before on the podcast, but I always have to be enrolled in a course. So at the moment, while I'm doing my research reviews, I'm looking for another course to do. But program design is essential as a personal trainer. It's the most important thing, I think, because how else can you get results? It's easy to smash someone like a dog and just walk around and do push-ups until they can't and do squats until they fail and say, oh yeah, that was a good workout, see you tomorrow. But that's not progress. That's just muscle damage. And I think a 5-year-old kid could do that. They could just, you could
go to Instagram and just pick up a program and do whatever they're showing that day and make yourself sore.
Well, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do.
I know.
It's a sad time. Yeah. Actually, I want to quickly touch on your transformation and I guess where you have come from. So what was your training history, I guess, from the start? Like from when you first walked into a gym or first, I don't know, did group classes or whatever you did. We haven't really discussed it, but what does your training journey look like up until now?
That's actually a really funny story.
I'd love to hear it.
I mean, really, really funny. Let's start with at 22, I had hair. Okay, the light's not showing, but it's white and it's thinned out. But I had hair. Like I used to perm it and make it curly because I have perfectly straight hair.
I'd love to see a photo.
Oh no, you don't. It's awful. It's awful.
Please send it through.
So at 22, I'm still in college because I did 2 degrees back to back, and my you would call him a flatmate, but my roommate, we would call it roommate. two different animals in your world. Same thing for us. Uh, he got me to go to the gym in the bottom of one of the dorms. Never been in a gym before. And not 2 days later, the next morning, I'm trying to blow dry my hair because I had longer hair. And I literally took my arm with my other hand and put it on the wall and moved my head back and forth because I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. I had to go up the handicap ramp because I couldn't lift my legs to go up the steps at the building where I had classes. Okay. That was my first experience with the gym. Okay. Move forward, graduate, get out of my first job. It didn't last but about 10 months. And get into my next job and found a gym, fell in love with it, but I'm doing aerobics classes. So yes, I am the Richard Simmons of the world. I was wearing spandex with no underwear under it because you can't have sweaty underwear. I'm so embarrassed now looking back at that. I'm going, but I did that all the way up until I went to Australia. And even at, what was the name? 1912, something. It was a gym in St. Leonard's
that's close
in Sydney.
to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And my office was like 2 blocks up the street. And I met all my friends there. We were doing classes together. We were lifting together. And I really started developing a lifestyle of more than just bike riding. I was doing long distance bike riding. So you live right off of the Spit.
Yeah, I'm on Spit Road.
Yeah. Well, that nice
just before the Spit Bridge.
It's like that. Yeah. Well, I used to ride up and down it. I would ride about halfway. And even though I'm a rider, I'd get off and walk the rest of it back up.
It's a steep hill.
It's horrible. So a lot of riding, a lot of bike riding, but I was lifting and I started lifting more. And then when I moved back to the States, it was just part of my life at that point because all my friends came from there in Sydney. It didn't develop that way through a lot of the rest of my gym time. It was more me going to the gym, occasionally having a workout partner, sometimes not, most of the time not. But I was constantly going. I mean, I'd go 4 or 5 times a week. And so I stayed very active in it. I started helping background fund a couple of gyms where I was working out or my trainer was connected. And I'd always got my money back, by the way. I never had a loss. It was really shocking. I always got my money back. And then I ended up, moving to Atlanta and working out. I didn't have another career at that point. I was doing a lot of stock investing because I do that as well. I manage a small portfolio here still. And, but that's like 4 hours a day and I had nothing else to do. So I went to the gym and I actually started working the front desk. You said you were running to the front desk. I worked the front desk because I wasn't meeting anybody. I was at home working the stock market from home.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Even being an online personal trainer, it's kind of like working as a stock investor or like a corporate job that's at home. Like, as you can see, I'm at home. Sometimes I go to a cafe to mix it up, or I go to the beach and try and work from there, and I do different things. But people don't walk into your door. You have to find excuses to meet people. That's one of the great reasons I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Like, even though it's a great art, and I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think it teaches me so much more mentally than it does physically. But I meet people. Like, there's like 20 guys, maybe, sometimes a couple girls that are doing, and we talk in between roles, we laugh before, we laugh after, and it's a great way to meet people. But I think when you work on your own, you have to get out there, or else, like, we were meant to be around people. And when you spend all day alone and you don't see anyone, you just go to the gym and come back, it's like, it's a rough day. I think it kind of adds up. You get lonely.
Yeah. And so that's what I was doing, was meeting people, and it worked. And then of course I became the boss. That was an interesting transition. I'm working the front desk, and now, all of a sudden I'm the owner, and they knew nothing about this. They knew nothing that was going on in the background. And I had people who looked down on front desk staff.
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
All of a sudden I'm the owner, and they're like completely puzzled and shocked. And now they're being nice to me. And I'm like, you're an asshole. I'm sorry.
Your membership is canceled.
Yeah. I actually got into a row with one of them, and I did terminate his membership and kicked him out of the gym.
Well, they are
It's like,
leeches to the gym culture.
Yeah. So, and I progressed, and when I was in IT, I was paid really well, like stupid. We were having this conversation just yesterday. Stupid amounts of money, way more than I thought I was worth. But if you're gonna, and I get this was in the 90s. They were paying me $110 an hour.
Yeah, right.
And I'm working 40, 45 hours a week.
Yeah.
Okay. No benefits or anything like that, but that's a lot of stupid money.
Mm.
And I saved a bunch of it, and I invested a bunch of it. And so I did okay. I spent a lot of it too, because I'm a traveling fiend. I, as you know, because you've seen just a little bit of my schedule, I like getting on an airplane and going somewhere.
Yeah. So what's been the number one place that you've loved traveling so far? Or maybe we go top three, because you've traveled a lot of places. It'll be hard to narrow it down to one.
Yeah.
But what's your top three places to travel? As a person that hasn't traveled very much, I like vicariously living through other people's travel adventures.
Okay, so next month I add one more country. That will put me at 71 countries. So I'm adding Israel next month. Iceland, we've been there 3 times, and we're going again in June. And we're doing a cruise that goes up on the north side, which we've not been to, and then over to Greenland, which we've never been to. So that'll be adding country number 72. Australia, I love Australia. It's so freaking hard to get to you because you're so far away.
It's far away from everything.
It's a long way. It's a long way. We've been to Europe a bunch. We go to London. My other half and I were married in London, actually, or had the official ceremony in London. And so that's Europe. I don't want to separate a country out, because sometimes you don't even realize you've crossed into another country. They're so close together. Yeah. But we have a blast. We love traveling.
So what's your top experience that you've done traveling then, I guess? So I know you did scuba diving in one of your most recent places. I can't remember where it is off the top of my head. Sorry? Honduras. Yeah. So what was, I guess, your favorite travel experience? Like a thing that you've done in a country, like a tourist activity, or just the activity in general? Like, what has been one of your most favorite ones?
Oh, I don't know that I can answer that question.
I have so much
fun every time I go. I mean, it doesn't matter where I go. I have fun. My other half is big on history. So, we do a lot of history. He loves churches. Oh my God, I don't want to see another damn cathedral. It's just driving me nuts. But
I can't say I find that very interesting either. I'm more of an adventurer.
So he's looking at all the religious stuff, and I'm looking at how they built the building.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah. Okay. So coming back away from travel, back to your achievement, I'd love to talk about your transformation, and how it's been. Obviously, you've been working with me for 64 weeks plus.
Plus.
But what was your training like, I guess, previous coming to me? Because you said you had trainers before.
Trainers.
Yeah. So what was your, I guess, transition to working with me? Like, I would love to know, out of a curiosity standpoint, from, what their programs and stuff are like. And, it can be positive, it can be negative, it can be whatever you want to say. But, how was your experience working with other trainers?
2 of my trainers that I've worked with the most, Andrew and Christian. I can name them because I had a phenomenal experience. I trained with Andrew for, good Lord, 4 or 5 years, and got stronger. The back got a little bit better. So, because I was really starting to have a lot of back problems from the surgery. And he has a biomechanics. He's a Paul Chek certified. He's level 5. He's the top level. And do you know Paul Chek?
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass certification. It took him years, and he teaches it now. I mean, he's really into it. But and then Christian, it was an ex-CrossFitter, and
2 very different styles.
Oh my God, totally different. But it worked out beautifully. I mean, because Andrew moved to have his own studio and do only a one-on-one and specialty stuff. He trains people for Ironmans, that sort of stuff as well. So, and he did online as well as in person in his new studio. And he's still doing it in that same damn studio. I mean, he does an amazing job. He's got kids that actually have had car accidents and they've had brain damage, and he trains them on how to biomechanically learn how to walk again. Awesome. I mean, he does really cool stuff. Christian's still in my gym, one of my most successful trainers, as a matter of fact. And I love training with him, but my schedule just like, oh, I can't make it today. I can't be there at 2:00 or whenever I mean, I've just got to go to an online. And then COVID happened. And it's like, I'm just going to go to an online trainer. So when my time is there, I can do my workout. Or if it solely blows away, I'll just move it to tomorrow. And an in-person trainer just can't have a schedule like that. That just, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of online training is being able to make it work when you can't, because I would struggle with that too when I was a face-to-face trainer. People are busy. And especially when you're, people that can afford personal training, because it is a luxury, do have to often travel quite a lot and have busy schedules and have meetings, and they just have places to be. So I was always constantly, as a face-to-face trainer, you're constantly on your phone trying to reschedule and on calls. Like, can you make this? Can you make that? Trying to make it work. It's tricky. Yeah. What's been a thing that's helped you maintain your training whilst you've been so busy traveling, running different businesses, investments and stuff like that? How have you managed to stay consistent? Because, we've been working together for, over a year, probably a year and a half. And what's been able to sustain you to actually be consistent? Because a lot of people with your type of schedule, online training is not for me, or like, fitness isn't for me. I'll just do it when I can, or I'm too busy. And you have almost every excuse in the world. Your lower back can cause you discomfort if you don't train correctly. What has been your secret?
1 second on the phone.
That's okay.
One of my friends came for dinner and he's like downstairs, and I'm like, oh, you can wait. You can sit down.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No.
Then we'll quick fire the last three and then you're out of here.
Well, I can do it with one word. Mirror. Looking in the mirror. Oh, I weighed 174 pounds, translate that, whatever, at 11. I had a 37-inch waist. I have we'll call it 31, 32-inch waist right now. And I weigh 5 pounds less than I did when I was 11. Now I'm a lot taller. In other words, I was a big fat kid wearing bell bottoms. Yes, bell bottoms. It was the time. Bell bottom jeans, no less. So that was the thing. I was wearing Huskies. You hear the story about wearing Husky jeans. Well, I was wearing Husky jeans. I got taller. I stopped gaining weight. I started riding a bike a lot. I didn't lose weight. I stayed within 5 or 10 pounds of that up literally till now. But I wanted to change the way I looked in the mirror. It wasn't about anybody else, although the attention that being in better shape does make, you can relate to that. I've seen a picture of your wife. She's not unattractive. So it does.
I think it's inspirational to some people as well. People take inspiration from that and they aspire.
Oh, yeah. Well, you look at people on the Instagram and you will see a lot of it stand-in model. A lot of it. And, it is what it is. That doesn't give me a whole lot of inspiration. I'd rather see you working out and see that muscle twitch and move while you're doing that exercise.
As opposed to just flexing it.
Oh, that's what that's doing. That's what that's supposed to look like. Okay, I can do that movement. I need to move my arm a little bit differently because I wasn't holding the position quite right, which you've corrected a bunch of my posture mistakes along the way as I send you videos. And thank you for that. So that's, it makes a difference.
Yeah. So you like seeing the process over the outcome. You find it much more.
Well, I like the outcome too. I mean,
Sorry,
I
in
get a
other
lot of
people.
it.
Sorry,
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah.
other people, I should say, like on Instagram and stuff.
I like to watch the process. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
the outcome is obviously great, but
of
I don't
course.
need to sit here and watch you do a double bicep all the time. How'd you get the damn double bicep? That doesn't help me figure out how to get there just watching you pose.
Yeah. I agree with that. All right, let's wrap up with the last final questions.
Ugh,
Because
these are hard.
yeah, no, kind of. So first one, what's one thing you do every day that helps you become a better person?
Give back. I donate a lot of money. Somebody calls to the gym. We're constantly donating to charities, to the schools doing auctions. They give a 1-year membership, and whatever money you get is yours. They love that. And I personally donate. If you don't take care of yourself, this is my thing about why I work out too. If you don't take care of yourself, how in the hell are you going to take care of somebody else? Because your health is just going to go to shit. You've got to take care of yourself. Well, I can help take care of other people. We donate to the elementary school, actually, in the school system up in the mountains. It's a fairly poor school system, and we donate to it every year money to do things that they want to do. The last year was electronic chalkboards, and they're getting rid of the real chalk boards, and they're going to these like 80-inch touchscreen TVs that are on stands that go up and down so they can lower it for the kids, and it keeps the kids engaged. They like to go up and touch the thing. So they're actually learning something. Well, you got to do
it makes
the math
learning
problem.
more inviting.
Yeah. And it's interactive. So that, that's kind of my philosophy on a day-to-day basis. How do you give back to somebody else?
I love that. I think that's super important for people, just to kind of get out of their own situation as well. It helps you kind of see, I think, I've wanted to give back since 14 years old. I talked about the story actually on the last podcast that I did, but I had a mentor of mine that was so generous and just gave back without expecting anything in return, which I think is how we should be giving back, or else I don't think it's really giving if you're waiting for something in return. But he would just give. And I remember asking him, like, how can I be generous? And he just said, give what you have. Because I was like, I'm so poor. I'm like 14 years old. I wasn't working. I was at school. And we would go for dinner or something. He would shout me, and I would feel so bad because I was like, I couldn't shout him because I literally had like $20. I was like, how do I do it? And he was like, just give what you have. Maybe it's a coffee, because that's proportionate to what I have. But
or
just
your time.
Yeah, exactly. The time of taking someone's question and answering it with the little knowledge that I did have at the time. But at least it was giving back. So I'm a huge fan of that. Second question, what is a book that has helped you become better?
One of the books that I really like, and it's not a book, it's a genre of books, but it's on body language. And I absolutely love them, because one of the ones I did was written by an ex-police officer, and it was about how he interrogated people. And it was super fascinating. Like if I was watching you and I was actually in person in front of you, I would be watching where your feet are they moving, where your hands are, what are you doing, all these things, because they give me information back on, are you comfortable? Are you uncomfortable? Are you hiding something? Think about this for somebody who's speaking in front of other people, or personal training. Okay, you're talking to them and they cross their arms. You can't really see me doing it because of the way I got the camera done, but that's called blocking. Yeah. And that means they don't want to answer the question, or they're not comfortable and they're protecting themselves. This means they want to say something, but they're not saying something. They got something to say, but they're scared to say it. Those sorts of things are really, really important in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, that can help you in many ways. If you're
dating,
if you're dating, if they're, crossing their arms, change the subject, man.
Yeah. I don't think that's a problem with your wife. I think she's going to look at you and go, listen, okay. And you're going to get the finger. Listen.
So what does the finger mean?
Well, usually
pointing with one finger.
Pointing. Well, in the US, in Australia, you point with two fingers, or you don't use that. But in pointing with one finger usually means you're not doing it right, and it's derogatory.
Okay.
Now that's not like pointing to go down the hallway. That's like pointing at someone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I saw something on this where like pointing with one finger is different to pointing with an open palm.
It is. It is. This is kind of more open.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. What's the name or do you have a specific book on it or an author that I can search? Because I'm actually interested in
Well,
checking that
guess
out.
I'll look it back up, but here's the problem. I also, when I read a book, if somebody says, "Oh, I'm interested in that," I give them the book. So I gave the book away.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't even remember the name of it, but he was a police officer, and it was on Amazon, of course.
Okay.
And I'll look it up and I'll let you know what it is.
Well, I can search police officer body language, and I'm sure
Well,
something will come up.
it's on my Amazon account. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
even though I order 750 items a year off of Amazon,
Yeah.
I can find the book.
Okay. Cool. Last question. What is a quote that has helped you become a better person?
Learn something new every day. Period. Make a point. It's so important to keep your brain engaged, but you know, even talking to some like straight, I'm Southern, so I can talk to a doorknob, but
I love talking to strangers too, in the elevator, at the checkout,
yeah,
supermarket. I love just sparking up conversation. It's interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you'll learn something, even if it's about them, maybe not on life or whatever, but you've gathered information about another person or learned something that like, this is the book I just finished. Can you read that?
A Shot to Save the World by Gregory Zuckerman.
That's a book on COVID and how Moderna and Pfizer came up with the mRNA technology. And it has the drama behind the fights between the company and then how it actually is made. And I'm such a nerd. I'm a science guy. And it literally talks about the lipids and all this other stuff on how you actually make the vaccine.
Okay. So that's what you learned today or
that's
recently.
Oh no, this one, I'm finished with this one. I've actually already listened to it on audiobook too. So, I mean, it's a great book.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. And that's why I have that golden rule of always being enrolled in a course. So at the moment, you know, I try to focus on learning something specific to my career because I think in the world of fitness or personal training, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Like that's any industry really, but a lot of personal trainers just rely on having a good body or sounding authoritative. But I think knowledge is what's going to sustain you, you know. A personal trainer is only meant to last about 6 months. That's the average lifespan of a personal trainer.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So I've done that 10 times over. So, and you know, not looking at slowing down. So I think knowledge is what sustained me and actually helped me retain my clients because the first 3 months that I was a personal trainer in Sydney, I had 0 clients. And then I got up to 60 sessions, not 60 clients, but 60 sessions because some clients do more than 1 session per week. Some do 3, 4, 5. Depending on what they can commit to. And then after that, I didn't walk the floor ever again just because I could retain clients and I just stayed busy. And I'm not trying to gloat. I'm trying to, I guess, gloat about the power of knowledge because that's what sustained me. My programming was getting better. The way that I was talking and communicating and even running my business was better. I changed from taking random payments to taking easy debit. Direct debit, because then I didn't need to think about it. They didn't need to think about it. It was just easy. I was like, okay, 2 sessions a week, bang, that's going to come out every Monday, you know, whether you're here or not, you know, if you can't make it, then we, you know, talk about it and we make it up or, you know, we readjust next week or whatever. But the knowledge that I was accumulating and that whole learn something new every day, I think has what sustained me in my career and obviously what's propelled you into your career and everything that you've achieved. So I definitely stand by that too.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an awesome chat, mate. This is actually the first time we've properly, I guess, chatted. Can't wait to meet you in April, get a coffee, get a workout in. And I appreciate your time, mate. Awesome. And I hope you have an awesome dinner tonight with your friend.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, mate. Cheers.
Cheers.